Hey everybody, Scott here with MotivatedCodePro.com. Thanks for coming back. This is video number 6 in a 6-part series about becoming a successful consultant as a software developer. Today we're going to talk about marketing and sales. Stay with me. So this last section, this final video, is really entitled Welcome to Marketing and Sales. And I want to say this is perhaps the most difficult thing for software people, technology people in general, that are really technical people, often have a difficult time selling and marketing and being out there in a way that builds business. Seasoned salespeople, it's like anything else. They take a long time to develop their skill. We as software people have taken a long time to develop ours. But what's tough about being an entrepreneur in this setting, if you're a consultant, you have to have some selling skills. You have to be willing. Let me say that, right? And that's a big part of it. But I want to start with the word entrepreneur, which I think is, I don't care a lot for the word, but you as a self-employed business person, remember, you are a business, and your time is money, and you need to treat it like money. Entrepreneur has the connotation of being glamorous and wonderful, and life is good, and sports cars and fast life and all this. But the truth is, as an entrepreneur, it's a grind. It is late nights. It is early mornings. It is wearing a lot of hats. It is doing a lot of things to take your baby, your business, and move it forward. And we've talked about your skills and experience. I mean, that's almost the least of it. That's what you're selling, but there's so much else that you have to be prepared for, and the marketing and selling is so important. Now, so for marketing, we've talked quite a bit about social media throughout this series, and I'm not going to park there for much, but I want to just remind you that you need to be busy there. Start your blog or work your blog, be consistent with your blog, pay attention to your YouTube channel, pay attention to my YouTube channel. These are things that you got to do, from a marketing standpoint, but selling really involves getting in front of somebody or getting on the phone with somebody and having a natural conversation about why you can help your customer. Right? And that's not an easy thing to do. Chances are, if you're a technology person, that you've lived a life in technology, if you've moved up through the corporate ladder at any level, that you've had to sell lots of ideas over and over again. And this is an augmentation of that fact, right? So I've heard a lot of people say, I can't sell. I'm not going to sell. The reason I don't do what you're doing, Scott, or one of the reasons is I don't feel like I can sell. And I really felt like that too when I started, and I am not a natural salesperson. I'm not an expert in marketing, but I've learned enough to know that I need to tend the garden of sales, and so to speak, in marketing, like we talked about in previous videos. So I have to believe that I can sell, and so after 11 years, I've learned enough about the process and working with people outside of just the building software aspect, which is what we sell here as a company. It's what I sold as an individual at first. But so you need to learn to sell, and at some point you're going to have to ask somebody for money. You're going to have to say, this is going to take 9 months, and it's going to cost this much money, and you need to give me this much down. And all of those negotiation tactics are a subject for another video coming up. But when it comes to selling, you need to be able to get in front of people and have those kinds of conversations. And I want to say, email is not a sales vehicle. It's a way to dot I's and cross T's, perhaps. But when it comes to selling, you need to be able to read the person that you're talking with, and I want you to be in front of them if you can. And in the world that we live in today, many times that's not possible. You're going to be on the phone, but don't do it with email when it comes to any of the negotiation parts of it. So selling and being an entrepreneur and going down this sort of consultancy isn't for everybody. If you don't have a tolerance for risk, it's going to be very, very difficult, because at some point we put it all on the line as business people, as entrepreneurs. You know, it's not just you and your ability to write code now. It's you and your ability to do business, to make progress as a business person, and to sell, right? And if you can't sell, perhaps your whole livelihood is on the line, your family, your wife, your kids, your dogs, cats, and everything else, your spouse, whatever, your significant person. All of that's at risk when you do this. And I think it's so important that you recognize this going in. I'm not trying to scare people, but it's the reality of it, man. Like I said in a previous video, you get down the road a contract or two, and you're like, okay, what am I going to do to find the next one? What am I going to do? I've got 3 people that I put to work on this contract. How do I keep them busy? All of those things can be the source of lost sleep. and it can be really scary. And so I just want you to recognize that those things are there. and so, you know, you have to have a stomach for that. And the person that you're with, if you're in a partnership or marriage or whatever, those people have to be willing to share that with you. So it's not easy. And it's not for everyone. What a lot of people do, and I've seen a lot of really good people go down this road, you know, they go to work for another consultancy, or they go to work for a consultancy that's out there where they have somebody that's selling, and they're really good technical people, don't want to sell, don't care to sell, don't want to risk everything they've ever worked for so they can have their own business. It's not for everybody. And you know, so you need to really know who you are as a person. And this is one other reason at the very beginning I talked about 5 years of experience being so important. And I hope that what I've just said about some of the complexity, the need to sell, the risk you take with your livelihood and your life in general, all of that makes more sense out of why it's important to have 5 years. You need to bring as much to this as you can. But again, back to the consultancy, some people will go to work for a consultancy, and it's kind of the perfect middle ground between being self-employed, you know, and having the 9 to 5, right? You get to work on lots of projects. You know, you might be able to make a little more money in that, because that's a little riskier. It's not the same risk as being self-employed, not usually. And but you get a lot of the benefit of it. You get to you surround yourself with a team, and a lot of times, ultimately, if you're building a business, part of your job is to build a team. But if you don't want to go down that road, you can step into a team in the form of a consultancy. And sometimes that's a really good way to go for people that don't have the want to take on the whole, you know, I want to be in business entrepreneur idea. Or maybe it's not the right time in their life. That's another important component as well. So one of the other things too that I want to say about selling is that sometimes, and I was guilty of this at first, anytime I was in a position where I had to sell something, I felt like I needed to kind of Zig Ziglarize myself. And, you know, like I said, I'm not a sales professional. But what I've learned, and by watching people that are really good and that are salespeople, they tend to be, they're themselves before the sales call, during the sales visit, and after the sales call, and all the follow-up stuff. They bring whatever quirks and personality flavor they have, and they just are themselves. And I think that's the trick, if there is one, is to just bring you to the sales process. Look, if you sell into something with your Zig Ziglarized version of you, and then you show up, you know, or you're on the contract and you're just Scott programmer in my case, or whatever, it creates this sense of, wow, he's this weird sales guy or this big salesy guy, and then now he's just Joe programmer. I don't know. I'm just saying, be yourself. There's it's often said you don't get a second chance to create a first impression, and so that tends to lead us down the road of, let me do all of this preparation and bang myself into something that I think is palatable for somebody to then spend money with me. But really what you need to do is create a consistent impression. So your first impression should be basically the same as your second, third, and 300th impression with your customer, because when you get past the sales process, it's just you and the work. It's you and your team. It's you and your ability to manage conflict and difficulty and work through issues and bang out projects, which is what we're all about as software people. I want to bring it all back to that point. We're software people, but when we step out as consultants, we take on a lot of stuff that's outside of our core discipline. Sales and marketing is one of them. The last thing I want to talk about is negotiation, and like I said, we'll do a whole nother video on this, but you do have to put yourself in a position to be able to ask for the money You do need to know how to follow up with people. This is where you can use email, but I think I still like the phone personally. And other people have differences of opinion, but follow up. Just because people haven't gotten back to you doesn't mean they've lost interest. It means they're busy. And maybe they have lost interest, but you need to get them on the phone and let them tell you that, or that they've moved on, or that they hired somebody else, or whatever. Because your final impression with a prospect should never hear that you're broken because they didn't hire you. They should hear, well, if you need us in the future, if there's anything we can do for you going forward, if there are any questions I can answer, I'd be happy to help you to help you find success with your project. Your mission is to help them. And I think if the contract doesn't go your way, and you don't make the sale, you want to show that you're a professional and that you're here to help them, because you never know when somebody's going to come back to you. And we've had this happen multiple times where people have made a decision and then have changed course for a variety of reasons and then come back to us. And I think because of the way that I handled the situation on first exit was why there was a second entrance, right? I wasn't angry or crushed with disappointment. And those are feelings that you have when it doesn't go well, but you need to be a professional and just, try to help the customer even though they've chosen to go a different route. So I hope that was helpful. That's a little bit about marketing and sales. There's a lot to cover. The well is so deep when it comes to marketing and selling, and there's a ton of good information out there about it. There's more and more information about selling into technology that's public, like people like me that have put a lot of content out there that you can benefit from, and you need to avail yourself of that. Selling is like programming in that the more you do it, practice, the better you get at it, the more comfortable you get doing it, and the easier it is to move in and out of deals and to and to be a part of the sales process while you're part of the programming process and while you're part of managing people and being with your CPA and keeping track of all of the many things that we've talked about throughout this series. So that's it. Please like and subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any videos. I am Scott with MotivatedCodePro.com. Please come to the blog and check out the section I did. There's another blog post for this video. And then if you're willing to give me your email address, I'll send you the whole ebook that covers the entire thing. And I'd be grateful for that. I hope this was good for you. I'm going to do lots of video on all of these topics are very deep. So we'll keep going. I'm Scott. Keep coming back. I'll see you on the next video.